I would not treat an animal the way that these people treated Russ Rowland on the day that they murdered him. I'm going to be somewhat graphic, and I apologize to the family, but I just want to stress that the reports say that when the officers arrived on scene, there was a water hose running on the front porch, and they observed human body tissue and skull fragments scattered on the porch and on the ground nearby. Mr. Rowland had been dragged into the house at that point. Mr. Keith admits that after this murder, after shooting Russ Rowland in the abdomen and doing nothing to help him, he went to the vehicle and he took Mr. Rowland's wallet.
In that wallet, he took $200. So he murdered a father, a former Marine, for $200. Now, this happened back in 1996. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But because he was under the age of 18, he now has an opportunity for parole. And some of you might recognize the sound of this case, and that is because we've covered it before. So before we watch this 2026 parole hearing, we are going to do my favorite thing, take a flashback to the past to his 2021 hearing, and it is a No Way Roche and the Honorable Judge Bonnie Jackson classic. Now, if you want to skip ahead, you can. I'll leave timestamps in the description. For now, let's jump in.
Classified as a first offender, offense second-degree murder, sentencing date January 27, 1998, but re-sentenced in August 15, 2016. Sentenced to life. Parole date is December 30th, 2021. Good time is none. Full term is life. Is this information correct, sir?
I could. Yes. What did she say?
Mr. Roche.
Can you hear? I hear now. Just keep skipping.
Thank you, Mr. Reeser. Can you hear me, Mr. Keith?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Keith. How are you?
Good morning, you. I'm fine.
Good. Members of the panel, Mr. Keith is a juvenile lifer. He was sentenced his second-degree murder case to life without benefits. Because of the Supreme Court case of Miller in Louisiana, case of Montgomery, and an act of the state legislature, he became eligible for parole after 25 years of became eligible for parole after 25 years of his sentence. He is a first felony offender. This was his only arrest, and he has no supervision history. I've read his mental health evaluation, which is a requirement in juvenile lifers cases, and it was a good mental health evaluation. No issues at the time, and the author of the evaluation said that he should perform very well if and when he's ever released. He has a low risk assessment. He's earned his GED, and while he's incarcerated, have you done any other advancement towards your education since you received the GED?
Yes, sir. I completed carpenter school.
Okay, good. You have a trade. Good.
Yes, sir.
The programs that he's completed: personal development, problem solving, anger management, money management, victim awareness and restitution, employment skills, 100 hours pre-release, inside out dad, living in balance, parts 1 and 2. Are there any other programs that you would like to mention?
Yes, sir. I'm currently attending Thinking for a Change.
You're currently enrolled.
Yes, sir.
Good. Excellent course. What have you got from Thinking for a Change so far?
Thinking for a Change has helped me develop better social skills and to talk to people and let them talk and understand where they come from and give them information and receive information back so we can help each other.
Okay. It's all about changing your mindset and changing the way you do things.
Yes, sir.
What is your job at Louisiana State Penitentiary?
I'm currently a compound orderly for the rodeo ground. And
Okay.
I paint and cut grass and whatever else they need me to do, I do it.
So actually sort of like a maintenance man.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you a trustee?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay. Tell us what your transition plan if you are released. Where will you work and where will you live?
Okay. I'm looking to go for the parole project for the transition.
Okay. And I'm almost sure Mr. Huntley will outline the transition plan that he has set up for you at the time later on in this interview. I see you have a vocational skill. So let's talk about drugs and alcohol. You were 16 at the time of this offense. Had you started using drugs and alcohol?
No, sir.
Have you ever used drugs or alcohol?
Yes, I have before. Yes, sir. Under
Okay.
peer pressure.
So was it before your offense or after?
Oh, it was way before my offense.
Okay, so at what age did you start using drugs?
I've never used drugs. I was drinking. I drink alcohol from time to, partying with friends and stuff on the weekend. That's it.
How old were you?
15.
So let's get the record straight. You have never used drugs.
No, sir.
At what age did you start using alcohol?
I was about 15 years old.
And alcohol did not play a part.
No, sir.
Okay.
Drugs, no alcohol played a part.
So Mr. Irish just convinced you to go along with it.
No, sir, he did not.
Then why did you take the firearm from him and he suggested that you shoot first? Why did you do that?
I refused.
You refused.
Yes, sir.
So you didn't shoot the victim.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay.
I was held at gunpoint and told that I better shoot.
Okay. That part was not in the report. Okay, let's continue. What community service have you rendered to your fellow offenders while incarcerated?
Community service?
Yeah.
I've never been a part of a club or anything since I've been in Angola, but I've helped offenders go to and from child that are in wheelchairs that cannot walk or have anybody else push them down there. I've assisted them with that.
Okay.
If anybody's needed help, friends, I've always been quick to give them a hand and help them any way I can.
So you've not worked in a toy shop, you've not worked with the Lookout Project or any organized community service project?
No, sir.
Okay,
This is stuff I've done on my own free will.
good. And that counts a little bit more than organized. You do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yes, sir.
Opposition in this case comes from the entire legal community. The sentencing judge, the DA's office, the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office, and the Chief of Police of Shreveport, Louisiana. You have opposition from the victim's son, Ms. Kathy Rowan Walker, the victim's wife at the time he was murdered, Emily Rowan Cope, his daughter, Lydia Rowan, his sister, and his 14 additional letters from family, friend, clergy, and most important, the community at large. People within the community that knew the victim or the victim's family has sent letters opposing your early release. I think you also have letters of support from your aunt and your girlfriend. I'm going to tell you very frankly, Mr. Keith, I have a major concern about your rehabilitation and your maturity. And I'm going to tell you what my concern is. Your general disciplinary conduct over the last 10 years has been less than desirable. You have 13 write-ups in the last 10 years. You have over 60 disciplinary write-ups in your 24 years of incarceration. You've been either in the working cell block or segregated quarters or changed your security level 4 times in the last 5 years. You've been in the working cell block or segregated quarters 14 times during your incarceration. You have 5 or 6 write-ups for 6 offenses. Your last disciplinary write-up on August 20, 2019, which is less than 2 years ago, was a 21C for a sex offense. 13 of your disciplinary write-ups were between the age of 30 and 40 years old. Most experts say that a male child, this is Psychological, social workers, and medical experts say that a male child matures around the ages of 27 and 30 years of age. That's fully mature. It takes us a little longer than our female counterparts come to the realization that we have to act as an adult. But between the ages of 30, after you should have reached full maturity, you have 13 disciplinary write-ups. And some of those are very serious write-ups. You've been sent to the working cell block during that period of 30 and 40, which shows a lack of maturity and a lack of rehabilitation. And the courts say that when a parole panel is considering parole for a juvenile lifer, it is to look for maturity, a certain level of maturity, and a level of rehabilitation. I don't see either today, simply because of your disciplinary conduct. Often when I see a juvenile lifer, I'd like to see 3 to 5 to 6 years where there's no disciplinary write-ups, where there's excellent programs, where there's excellent community service, to show that you've reached a level of rehabilitation, that you realize that it's not all about yourself, it's about helping individuals. It's about following rules and regulations, not breaking them after over 20 years of incarceration. Your last write-up was less than 2 years ago. You've been incarcerated for 24 years. You should know the rules and regulations. And if you reach that level of maturity, you would know better. So it's a major concern for me. Juan Hooper, would you like to make any comments, remarks, observations at this time?
Yes, just to piggyback on what you're saying, he has a total of 58 disciplinary reports. And
Well, you have a couple of doubles in there, and I count the doubles as 2.
okay. But, so basically, it looks like he's closed down his write-ups in 2015. Picks up 4 since 2015. He did receive his GED in April 29th of 2005, so he got that early on. He's completed his 100 hours. And he does have a low Tiger score, so just for the board's information.
Thank you, Juan. Mr. Reese, that completes my presentation.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Mrs. Keith, you were in court in Caddo on August 15th of 2016, appearing before Judge Ramona Emanuel. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the purpose of that appearance was for her to determine whether or not you should be granted eligibility for parole as a juvenile lifer. Do you remember that court appearance?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember the behavior that you demonstrated at that court appearance?
Towards the attorney? Yes, ma'am.
And there's a transcript or an excerpt of a transcript that was submitted by one of the individuals opposing your receiving parole. Mr. Goins, that was your attorney, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
After Judge Emanuel made her ruling, Mr. Goins says, and we'll file appropriate motions for appeal and designation of the record, Your Honor. And the court duly noted. Defendant, what? Appeal it? Man, you ain't never seen me. You've never answered my letters or nothing. How are you going to appeal it for me? Mr. Goins, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Defendant, full of shit, man. You're full of shit. The court, I'm not going to tolerate that language, Mr. Keith. How would you respond to that behavior, Mr. Keith?
I was out of line. I was angry. I was upset because I've never seen that man before in my life.
Well, but Mr. Keith, can't you understand how that's a cause of concern for us, that you're even in that setting, even in that environment, even when you're appearing before a judge who has the power to decide whether or not you even get to the point that you are right now, your response is to be unable to control your anger and your temper, and you lash out at the attorney who is making every effort to help you. And obviously he did help you because the judge did see fit to give you the opportunity to have this day. And you use profanity towards him and in the presence of the court. You know, I understand that when you're 16, you're immature, you're impulsive, you don't think ahead, you don't truly understand the magnitude of your actions. But in 2016, Mr. Keith, you should have acquired that level of maturity that would have prevented you from responding in this way. I mean, that's very troubling to me. So really that's all I have, Mr. Roche. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Teresa?
Thank you. Okay, we will now hear from our participants. Can we please hear from Andrew Hunley first?
Thank you, Andrew Hunley with Louisiana Parole Project. Here to let the board know today that if you would choose to grant AUDY Keith his request for Parole Project would be willing to have AUDY in our reentry program. As you're aware, Louisiana Parole Project has served now 200 clients through our reentry program. We have a very positive success rate, especially as it relates to juvenile lifers. And based on AUDY's low-risk Tiger score, we feel like he would not be an individual who would be at risk for recidivating. Would like to also mention that Louisiana Parole Project would be willing to provide AUDY long-term reentry support in light of the community's attitudes towards AUDY in the Caddo area. We recognize that this board may choose, if they were willing to grant him, that he may not, the board may not see fit for him to return to that area. Just letting you know that we would work with AUDY to ensure that he had long-term residence in an area he could be successful if that's what the board chose. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now, can we please hear from Ms. Connie, who's the mother?
Yes. I'm AUDY Keith's mother. My name is Connie Nowlin, and he has all his family support. His siblings, nieces, nephews, his grandmother, who is very ill with Alzheimer and also is a dialysis patient. And she actually helped raise him as a child. And we don't want to have her around much longer, so we were hoping that the board would see fit to allow AUDY to go home or come home and join the reentry program with Andrew Huntley.
Thank you. Now, can we please hear from Ms. Rhonda, who is the fiance?
Yes, my name is Rhonda Laughlin, and I'm his fiance. I had submitted a request and let everyone know that I would do my best to my ability to help rehabilitate him if y'all would let him be released and go through any program he needed to help him along the way and reestablish his life in society. He is a good man. As much as I've known him since we have been together and before even being friends, I've seen a tremendous change in him, and I would be very honored if y'all would grant him his parole.
Ms. Laughlin, we do have your letter.
Thank you. Now, can we please hear from Ms. Tracy, who's an aunt?
Good morning. Yes, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Roche and Ms. Jackson for the concerns that they shared with all of us today. Simply put, I am asking for an extension of grace today. I do believe that, as Mr. Roche mentioned, that it took him longer to mature, much longer to mature than most people, most men. But I believe today that all of this, that all of that, if he were to be granted parole today, that upon his time working up until his release date, that a lot of great and good things would continue to happen for him. And I believe that he has shown that he can be productive in society, even though it has been a number of years that he has been incarcerated. But I have a lot of faith in God. I have a lot of faith in my nephew as a person. And that's just the kind of person that I am. I have a lot of hope and a lot of faith. So I am asking that he be granted parole today. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's hear from opposition. Can we please hear from Ms. Linda, who's the victim's sister?
Yes, thank you for carefully reviewing this case and reading the numerous letters and emails that were written by our friends and family hoping to prevent the release of AUDY Keith. I want to share this photo with you. This shows Russ with his 11-year-old son, Matt, the day before he was senselessly murdered. Russ thought he was creating memories for his son of a first hunting trip. What Russ couldn't know is this would be the first and last hunting trip with Matt. While Russ was teaching Matt gun safety and that shooting a gun at a living creature would result in harm or death to that creature, AUDY Keith was participating in the planning of a robbery and murder of a man he didn't even know. AUDY knew the morning of December 30th that he was going to help his friends in their plan to rob and kill Russ. AUDY had nothing to gain from this act. He could have backed out on 2 different occasions, but he chose not to. Earlier that morning, Russ was called to collect back rent for the mobile home that Russ purchased for AUDY's accomplice in this crime. While at the trailer, AUDY and his friends visited with Russ and his son about the previous deer hunt. Then they lied about the reason that they lured him there. As the day progressed, AUDY and his friends revisited their early failed plan to rob and kill Russ. AUDY was still a willing participant in what was to come. Russ never expected to become their prey. He was lured to the trailer for a second time, only after firing a bullet through the body of my brother and stealing the money from his truck for his friends. AUDY decided that he no longer wanted to be a part of this horrific scheme. AUDY not only took the life of my only sibling, the only son of my aged mother, he took the father and grandfather from his daughter Emily and his son Matt and their 2 beautiful families. This is Matt and his beautiful family. This is Emily and her beautiful family. AUDY is thriving in Angola prison. He has a Facebook page where he describes himself as a cool, down-to-earth person that treats others with respect. Russ, on the other hand, took a bullet to his face. This is a copy of the picture of the Facebook page. I hope that you, the parole board, never have to feel the grief that our family has endured. And I hope that you never experience a tragedy like this. I beg that you deny AUDY Keith the opportunity to inflict this pain on anyone else. Please support the original sentence of life without benefit of parole, which was promised to our family and friends. Thank you.
Miss Lydia, Miss Linda, we did get all of your letters from each one of your family members, and they were read in their entirety.
Thank you.
Ms. Teresa?
Thank you. Now can we please hear from Mr. Bob, who's the victim's friend?
Yes, I've known Russ from birth, and went through school with him in each other's weddings. He left, went to the Marine Corps, was a U.S. Marine, came back. We worked together at KCS Railroad, and both went out and went into business for ourselves. Russ was at a thriving business that was growing and a very, productive member of society, as they say, as a taxpayer and everything. This was a census killing. What I did not hear from AUDY was that a humble and contrite man that is now a Bible-believing Christian participating in Bible study. And what I heard was excuses of peer pressure, the devil made me do it mentality, rather than taking responsibility for what you did and apologizing for it and being contrite about it. So I do not think he needs to be released. At this point, he would be worse than he was. So I asked the parole board to deny parole and continue with the life sentence. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that is all the participants that would like to speak. Mr. Key, would you like to make a brief statement before the board votes?
Yes, ma'am, I would. I'd like to take this time and say that I'm sorry again for what happened all those years ago when I did do it. Yes, no, I wasn't an active participant in it, and I was forced into doing it. That's why that I realized that what happened during that time, that it was wrong that happened, and I took responsibility for what happened during that time. That's why I pled guilty to the crime in 1998, and I was the star witness for the state to help convict my co-defendant for him to be placed on death row.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. Is the panel ready to vote? This case was assigned to me, so I will be the lead vote. Mr. Keith.
Yes, sir.
After reading all the information that was at my disposal, I've come up with the idea, first of all, that the level of maturity we are looking for today, you have not reached that level of maturity. You've had 13 disciplinary write-ups in the last 10 years. You have a 21C less than 2 years ago. Ideally, I would like to see a record of no disciplinary write-ups for at least 3 to 5 years in these long-term sentencing cases to show me that you've reached a level of rehabilitation that you know the difference between right and wrong. So the level of maturity we're looking for, I did not find. The level of rehabilitation is not there. Along with the express opposition from the entire legal community, the judge, the DA's office, the sheriff's office, and the chief of police, along with the victim's family, who is adamantly opposed to any early release. We have opposition from the community at large. Therefore, my vote today is to deny your request based upon all the information I've just articulated. Mr. Wise.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. On this case here, I sat and I went over this case for a long time, and I looked at the case, and I agree with Mr. Roche. One of the things I see, you had 5 21s, sex offenses in your jacket. Also, your DB reports in 2029. There's a time, we see people all the time. I've been on this board almost 18 years. And I see these people come before us. When they come before us, I've seen them just like you. I think Mr. Hunley may have been one of them. His disciplinary write-ups was, he didn't have a lot of disciplinary write-ups. You need to get in there. And they was talking about the Facebook page and things like that. I see where you've had other write-ups, like I just to go over aggravated disobedience. You had 21 of those in your jacket. Get a hold of this thing, work on it. Today, my vote is to deny.
Thank you, Mr. Wise.
Thank you.
Mrs. Jackson.
Mr. Keith, I concur with my fellow board members with respect to the number of disciplinary actions that you've accumulated. The fact that as recently as 2019, there was a write-up for a sex offense. I don't find that you've engaged in a lot of programs that would not only benefit you, but benefit others within the institution. And there's intense family, community, and law enforcement opposition. But what I would say, as I read the victim opposition letters, even though they were opposed, I saw that there was an opportunity for grace. If you had just changed, if you had just become a better person, there's something in me that says hearts could have been softened if they had seen anything in you that indicated that you had truly been remorseful for your actions. If you had spent all this time working to better yourself and to help others, there might have been a softening in their attitudes towards you. But I think what's really gotten to them, in addition to the crime itself, is the fact that you don't seem to have learned very much. You don't seem to have grown up or matured, as evidenced by that outburst in court in 2016. No contrition, no humility, no true empathy for what you did in this case. And so my, request of you is to look inward at yourself. Don't blame anybody on the screen for the decision today. Look inward at yourself and figure out what it is that you need to truly change. Because, right now, I just don't think you're where you need to be. And for those reasons, I also will deny your request.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. You have received 3 votes to deny your request for early release. You have gotten statements and comments and advice and just good information from all 3 members of the panel. It is live up to you whether you take that advice or not. But you know what you have to do, and maybe next time it may be different if you change your mindset. So our decision today is to deny your request. This concludes this hearing.
That's it. Come on.
Mr. Roche, I believe that is the last case at Angola. Can we please close out?
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Warren Hooper.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your assistance. It's nice seeing you. We're going to stand adjourned at Louisiana State Penitentiary. It is 9:48 a.m.
Thank y'all. Come on.
He was denied, but he's going to have another bite at the apple in 2024. So we're about to watch that hearing before we watch the 2026 hearing. Now, I do have information to go over about what happened in this case through the appeal, but I'm kind of feeling things out. I think that what we're going to do is jump straight into this next hearing Then I'll go over the appeal. I'll also read your comments because, again, we played this, although only like, I don't know, 20% of my subscribers have seen it. So chances are this is new for you, but I'll read your comments and then we'll go into the 2026 here. But man, he's not aging well. And let's just see if he's learned anything, if he's learned anything from the last hearing. And I know many of you are curious, what's a 21C write-up? So 21C write-up, it is an S offense. It is on inmate offense. It's not an aggravated, so it probably just means consensual, consensual relationship. And it's just gotta be so embarrassing when your freedom's on the line, right? And what is it? Is it his fiance or his girlfriend's talking on his behalf? And they must have brought up the 21C like 20 times. I mean, it was almost like they were trying to rub it in on him. That was just something else. But I mean, again, I have a lot that I want to say about this case. It's just so like, but let's just jump in. We'll jump in and I'll do the unpacking before the 2026 hearing. So let's go.
Good morning. The Committee on Parole is called to order. Today's date is May the 1st, 2014, and the time is 9:50. My name is Carolyn Stapleton, and I am serving as the chairman of today's parole panel. My colleagues on the panel today are to my right, Mr. Pete Freeman, and to my left, Ms. Jerry Ledoux. The panel today is at DOC headquarters in Baton Rouge. Your name and your DOC number for the record.
Yes, ma'am. AUDY key 393-128.
Your offense is first-degree murder. Your sentencing date was 1/27/1998, I'm sorry. Your sentence is for life. Your parole date is December 30th, 2021. Good time you're not eligible for. Your full-time date is life. At this time, we will have your supporter input. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and start the interview.
Oh, I'll do the question. I'm sorry. Okay. Mr. Keith. Pardon?
We have a couple of guests here that need to introduce themselves, and I believe one of them is speaking.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, we're updating. If y'all could go ahead and introduce yourself for the record, please state your name and relationship to the offender.
Connie Allen, I'm the mother.
Okay.
Brittany Angley, and I'm Lonnie's sister.
And who will be speaking today?
I will be speaking. Connie Allen, on behalf of all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead with your interview, Ms. Carolyn.
Okay. My interview is for you, Mr. Keith, as I see that you were 16 years old when this crime occurred. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And also, I saw that you said that there was another person involved that held a gun to you and told you that you had to shoot this man. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then how you complete it and tell me what all happened.
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
You tell me the rest of what happened in that event, that this man was holding a gun to you. What was your relationship with this man and what happened?
Yes, ma'am. I just became short-term friends with him. I've only been in the neighborhood a few months. Brief acquaintance. He pulled a gun on me. He went over a plot is what he did, of what he wanted to do to Mr. Rowland. And I refused participation with what he had planned. And we made a trip to the grocery store because one of my co-defendants said she needed to go grocery shopping. So we went grocery shopping. And my co-defendant, Mr. Irish, he asked Miss Christy Klein to stop at the gas station and make a phone call to call Mr. Rowland to come pick up rent money. He didn't get in contact with him. He talked to his secretary. So we went grocery shopping and came back. And he stopped again, made a phone call and said he did in fact talk to Mr. Rowland. He said Mr. Rowland was going to come and pick up his rent money between 3 and 3:30. We got back to the house. I put in a movie. Miss Klein put up the dishes, and a short time later, she said that Mr. Rowland's here. He's here. She took off running to the back of the house, and that's when Mr. Irish came up through the hallway, and Mr. Rowland was in the door, and he had the rifle in his hand. He normally keeps all of his guns directly behind the chair that I was sitting in, and he told me that he wanted me to shoot him, and I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. I'd never been in a situation like this before. I was scared. So he picked it, he cocked the gun and pointed at me and said, "You better shoot." I grabbed the gun and I shot him.
And what happened?
He fell backwards onto the porch. Mr. Irish came up to me, took the shotgun from me. He attempted to cock it and shoot him again with the same gun. It jammed up. He put it down and he picked the 30 rifle up and he stood over Mr. Rowland and he shot Mr. Rowland in the head. Before Mr. Rowland, he begged for his life. Then he told me to go to the truck. I was still scared to death. I didn't know what to do. Me witnessing this and me being directly involved in it, even though I refused to participate and I was still actively involved in it. I went to the truck and retrieved Mr. Rowland's wallet and brought it back and gave it to Mr. Irish.
Mr. Rowland was dead at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
Then what happened?
I left the residence and went across the street to try and get some help. Nobody would help. They told me to leave. I went to another friend's house. A short time later, my mother and my stepfather come and pick me up, and they brought me back to the scene of the crime. And we talked to the detectives, and the detectives advised my mother to bring me home, wait for a little while, and bring me to the sheriff's station, which they did.
Who called the police?
Jason Williams called the police. They said he called 911.
You heard the gunshots or you went there? How do you know about it? He heard the gunshots or he was there or you went to him or what?
He came through after everything was, after Mr. Rowland was dead, he showed up.
I see. And then he saw it and then he went ahead and called for help.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, today you have strong opposition from law enforcement and there's nothing you can do about that. I see that, you know, you've been taking a lot of classes and you've been taking carpentry classes and you've gotten certified and you got your GED, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. And you want to name a few other classes?
I'm currently going into my second year of HVAC school. Better Man is sponsored by Malachi Daz. Thinking for a Change, as well as when I came to Hunt, I implemented myself into the community to try and make a difference with the younger people that are here that are at risk, the young adults. And I co-facilitate Thinking for a Change, and I facilitate Better Man after partaking in that class. And I graduated. I took the torch and I started leading the community with that as well.
That's wonderful. At this time, I'm going to pass the questioning over to my fellow board member, Mr. Freeman.
Okay, Mr. Danny, let me ask you this. You claim that you did not want to do it, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. But yet you were the first one that shot, right?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you shoot the guy making you do it? Why did you shoot an innocent man?
I've never been in a situation like that before. I had a gun pointed at me. I didn't know what to do.
Okay. Why were y'all robbing? You needed money for drugs? What was going on in your life at that time?
I was in school. I was on Christmas break. That was just somewhere we went out to hang out with on the weekends. I was new to the neighborhood. We just moved back to Shreveport from Ruston, Louisiana.
And after all of this, as nervous and scared as you were, you ran to the truck and got his wallet, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Miss Klein stayed there to clean up the blood, correct?
Yes, sir.
How long did y'all plan this? Was it planned earlier that day? How was it planned?
He wasn't over talking about doing, but he talked about doing all kinds of crimes and nothing never came about it. We all, excuse me, I didn't hear you. Could you please?
No, sir.
repeat?
I'm listening to you, sir.
Okay. He always talked about committing other crimes and never done any of them. Everybody thought they were just talking. So, you know, I didn't pay no attention to his words. I didn't realize the weight that his words carried at that time.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay, Ms. Ledoux?
I would like to ask Mr. Keith, do you have a child? It says in the records you did, but
Yes, ma'am.
so you went to prison 16
16.
and you have a child from prior to that.
Yes, ma'am. Prior to prison, yes, ma'am.
Are you currently receiving any psychiatric treatment?
No, ma'am.
I know they did some personality assessments on you, or you rather. So it's not unusual to have a significant number of write-ups when you go to jail as long as you did. Your last write-up was in 2019, a 21C. Why haven't you had any write-ups since then?
Because I started implementing myself in the self-help classes and I was realizing the mistake that I was making. I needed to better myself to become a better person.
There's one last question. We have significant amount of information in this record. And I'm not able to locate it right at this minute, but I read in a record that you had some problems at your resentencing. Do you remember being in court for resentencing?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Did anything happen during that time in court that indicated that you may not have had the best attitude?
Yes, ma'am. I kind of outbursted. It was at a time where I had never seen my attorney. I felt like I was by myself. I was all alone. I filed all the motions. And I felt this is my only chance at freedom. And when this man showed up in the courtroom and he told the judge that he had been coming to see me, I'd never had any contact with him, correspondence, letters, phone calls, visits, didn't reach out to none of my family members. And he showed up to court and I kind of I used profane language.
I just wondered, thank you for explaining that. That explanation is helpful. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, at this time, we're going to speak to your supporters that are there at, with Miss Hutchinson. Oh, she was the class, okay. Well, then your sister that's there. Your sister, what's her name? I'm sorry.
Madam Chairman, I think it's his mother that wishes to speak.
Oh, the mother, okay, the mother. Would you like to speak, ma'am? On behalf. Okay, and I'm sorry, what is your name again?
My name is Connie Nowlin.
Nowlin?
Nowlin. Nowlin.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Nowlin. Okay, just on behalf of your son.
Yes, ma'am. I'm here to speak on behalf of my family. We have been in full support of him as much as possible. Sending materials for his training in his HVAC school. We are here for him for whatever he needs, in full support. We pray for him and pray that for mercy on the court. And I know he's apologized to the family before, but we want to apologize on our behalf as well. Because we know that this is something that could have been prevented, but it wasn't. And I do apologize for the loss of Mr. Rowland, for the anguish and hurt that's happened in the family. From the pit of my heart.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you very much for your statement, ma'am. At this time, we will hear from Andrew Hundley by way of Zoom.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Andrew Hundley, Executive Director of Louisiana Parole Project. We're here today on behalf of AUDY Keith to express our organization's intent to provide AUDY reentry support if he is released by this board. First, I'd like to start off by acknowledging this was certainly a senseless crime that AUDY participated in. We're here today, and AUDY's here today because of the U.S. Supreme Court's decisions in Miller and Montgomery and Act 277 of the 2017 legislative session that provided individuals like AUDY parole eligibility. As this board's aware, our organization has provided reentry support for the juvenile lifers affected by those decisions that have been released over the last several years. Nearly all of them have done their reentry with Louisiana Parole Project. So we don't take every client who applies for our support. We screen them, and what we found with AUDY is that he has consistently displayed remorse for his actions, taken responsibility for actions with our organization. And he has a record of rehabilitation and growth, especially over the last several years. If AUDY were to be released, he would not return to the Caddo area. He would be housed in our residential reentry program in Baton Rouge. He would go through extensive reentry programming with our organization. He would have access to our staff social worker and undergo multiple assessments. We would meet all of his mental health and other related needs, and we provide him that housing for as long as it took for him to work towards self-sufficiency. In light of the skills that AUDY's earned during his incarceration, we believe that he could enter the workforce and eventually become self-sufficient. But in summary, we just wanted to offer our commitment to the board that if AUDY is released, we commit to providing him long-term housing and reentry support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hundley. At this time, we speak to the warden, please. Do you have
Yes, ma'am.
anything to say?
First of all, my heart goes out to the victim's family for their courage and participating in this hearing today. AUDY got here from Angola in 2022, and since he's been here, he has been working on himself. He didn't mention that he also took victim impact training here at the prison. In March of 2023, became a trustee and has remained in that custody level since then. So he's been a trustee for a little over a year. He is participating in our HVAC school, and he does assist our maintenance department with various HVAC projects and some on-the-job training that he's going through right now. He hasn't been an issue for us, and everything else that I think that he mentioned is confirmed in the record.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I will ask to speak to your attorney at Hunt Correctional, Ms. Hutchinson, please.
She would usually go after Mr.
Oh, wait a minute. After Mr. AUDY?
After Mr. AUDY.
Okay.
We'll wait to the end and she'll close it.
Okay.
After the DA's last.
No?
Allow the attorney to make his closing statement. And the attorney.
Now?
All right.
Okay, Mr. AUDY, will you please make your closing statement?
I'm sorry, we're not gonna do the opposition.
The opposition will go next.
Okay.
They'll go last.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to take the time now to say how sorry I am to the son and the daughter, because I realized the mistake that I made, that what they're missing with Mr. Rowland as their best friend, their life coach, their hero, their father. I'd like to take the time to apologize to the wife. I realize now through my training what she has missed with her husband, her support system, the glue that holds the family together, her happiness, her soulmate. I'd like to apologize to the sister. I realize what you miss in your best friend as well. And I'd like to apologize to his friends, the people he served with in the military, and the rest of the community and society. Because at the time, I didn't know, but what I do know now is that the victim is broad, that it casts it out on the entire community with a ripple effect to have all the people that were affected by this horrendous crime. And from 16 to 43 years old, I have rehabilitated myself and changed the way that I think. I changed my ideals, my principles, and my beliefs, where I use better thinking.
Thank you, Mr. Key.
We'll hear from the attorney.
Okay, this time we will hear from the attorney, Ms. Hutchinson.
On December 30th, 1996, they had a rifle pointed at him with one instruction: to shoot the man at the door, a man he had never met before, and a man he had no animosities for. His decision, this inability at 16 years old to get out of that situation caused a great harm to a family and a community. And it led AUDY down a path of self-destruction once he got into prison. Feelings of unworthiness for taking Mr. Rawlins' life permeated his mind. It was evident in his actions. 27 years later, AUDY is still haunted by his decision. The anguish, the pain, and the sorrow, the regret are so much a part of his day, it almost feels ingrained in his DNA. The isolation from his family, the uncomfortableness with life in prison, and his youth led to outbursts and disciplinary write-ups. But these are all things to be expected. You see, when Miller versus Alabama was decided, they identified these traits in the youth: short-sightedness, impulsiveness, and susceptibility to peer influences. But they also recognize that these traits are less fixed in youth, and that over time, their true character will develop and come to the forefront. And with that guidance, this board produced guidelines to measure the character, maturity, and rehabilitation of the now adult that entered prison so young. So with that, I'd like to just quickly review AUDY against these guidelines. We've already discussed the age and circumstances of the offense and the hallmark features of youth: peer pressure, susceptibility to those influences. But today, AUDY has shown growth and remorse and maturity. His contribution to the welfare of others and his volunteer work, his facilitating classes, have been evident in his record. He's even signed up for NA and AA classes to help others with addiction. He entered prison with a 9th grade education, but has gained his GED. He's done carpentry school, crew management, and now HVAC school. In addition, everything that was brought up in his previous parole hearing, he has completed any recommendations from the previous board. He's maintained his disciplinary record and done community service. He's truly sorry for the pain that he caused and the great loss to the Rowland family, and has truly changed himself inside and out. Because of AUDY's demonstrated growth, maturity, and rehabilitation, we humbly request this board grant his parole with any conditions that the board deems necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. At this time, we're going to go to the opposition statements. And we will begin with people that are on Zoom. It will be Ms. Kathy Walker, the victim's wife, Matt Rowland, the victim's son, Linda Rowland, the victim's sister. Present watching on Zoom will be David Henderson. He's a friend. Emily Coop, who is the victim's daughter. And then here at headquarters to represent the district attorney's office from Caddo will be Ms. Leon Fitzgerald. So we will start off. Ms. Walker, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, you go ahead.
I apologize that my picture is kind of dark, but that's just the way my camera does that. It's very unfortunate that you can't see this picture of Russ.
Thank you, ma'am.
I just want to point out that he was 17 at the time when he, can you hear me? Can y'all hear me okay?
Just
One moment. Just one moment.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Please
That's
proceed.
okay. I just wanted to show his picture and to tell you at this time, Russ Rowland was 17 when he went into the military. Russ Rowland was my husband. He was 42 on December the 30th of 1996 when AUDY shot and killed him. His daughter Emily, 14, in her freshman year of high school. His son Matt, 11. On this day, Matt was in Russ's care. They had just returned from what became their final father-son hunting trip. Russ was lured to pick up owed rent money. When he arrived, he was ambushed. Matt put on his shoes to go with his dad that day. I praise God that Matt changed his mind and decided not to go. Can you imagine what would happen if he had been there? Our lives forever changed the day Russ was killed, all for $141 in his wallet. He also robbed Emily and Matt of a lifetime of their father's love. He was not able to be at military recognitions, graduations, weddings, job successes, nor tell them the jokes that he was so well known for. Russ missed out on critical years and opportunities to influence, I'm having trouble reading, to influence his children. And he now has 6 grandchildren that will never know him. Being a single working parent during my children's teenage years was not easy emotionally or financially. Our children always maintained jobs to supplement financial obligations, and I'm proud that I taught my children that they must work for what they have. Clearly, that is not what AUDY thought. Russ served his country as a Marine. He began a life of working and building his family. He held down multiple jobs at a time. He became a realtor, a home builder, and invested in rental property to provide for his family. He was a talented craftsman, enjoyed hunting, fishing, and people. Russ contributed positively to the community, helped those less fortunate, had many friends, and made others laugh, and he was also a Christian. AUDY participated in the planning of the ambush. He had many opportunities to stop it. I wonder if he ever has nightmares and sees Russ screaming in pain and pleading for his life. This is a lasting image for me. All choices have consequences, good or bad. Some cannot be undone. Any relaxation to AUDY to the sentence degrades the credibility of our judicial system. Statistics show that 60% of people that commit serious crimes will offend again. This is not an isolated incident for AUDY, but what it elevated to. He showed Russ no mercy. And honestly, I'm fearful for him being released back into the community for the safety of all. He's demonstrated this capacity to hurt and kill, and I just thank you for your consideration. I know it's a difficult position to put the board in.
Well, Ms. Walker, it's also understandable that it was difficult for you to have to reopen these old wounds that you
Absolutely.
got. So, my condolences to you for that. Okay, now we're going to go to Matt Rowland. Are you available to speak, Matt?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay.
I did not prepare a statement, but I just want to tell you right now that, you know, as he sits there today, this is the very first time that I personally have ever heard the words "I'm sorry" out of his mouth. You can see my sister shaking her head. You know, we've been told over and over and over that they've apologized and apologized. Today's the first day it's ever come out of his mouth where I've seen it and heard it. You say you've taken all these victims advocates courses and all this. I think you need to retake a lot more of them, because the story you just told, the one thing that you did miss out on that I really picked up on was your accountability and ownership of what you did. I spoke at Danny's hearing recently, and I got very emotional because I'm tired of dealing with this. Y'all are in my life every day, and I have to do this every couple of years, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting. I want to move on from you and having to deal with this. I'm tired of watching my sister cry and struggle having to deal with this every day. Go away. Leave my family alone. You know, you talk about the carpentry classes, the HVAC classes that you did. Well, you know, somebody getting out of prison with all that, my dad would have been the very first one to offer you a job and put you into a residence to get you on your feet. But you took that away.
Just for a second. I want you to say everything you're saying, but just tell it to us.
Yeah.
Say to us.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm telling it to
don't
y'all.
say what you need to say though.
This is my time to speak, please.
Okay.
I'm against this wholeheartedly. You know, I'll tell you the exact same story I told Danny recently. My son, my firstborn, is 11 years old. That's the age I was when my father was taken from me. And I look at him every other day, and I know what me and him go through, and I know what experiences we have, and it pisses me off to no extent that you took those experiences away from me. You took those experiences away from my sister. So if you think you'll ever get forgiveness from me, even as a Christian, you're strongly misguided. That's all I've got to say.
Well, Matt, I appreciate your words, and I know that you have every reason. Because like I said to your mother, this just reopens all the pain and the hurt and the loss. So I understand that. Okay, now we're going to go to Linda.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Linda Rowland.
Yes. I'm Linda. My brother is Russ Rowland, who was murdered by AUDY Keith. This is the last photo of Russ taken the day before his murder. It's the last photo of Russ with his son, Matt. The only thing true about AUDY's story is that he shot Russ and he got his wallet from the truck. AUDY knew the morning of December 30th, 1996, that he was going to help a friend kill and rob my brother Russ. AUDY went to his friend's house several days prior, where the scheme to kill and murder Russ was planned. He and his friends even made a plan to dispose of Russ by putting his dead body in a sleeping bag, take it to a friend's where they would cut it up with a chainsaw and dump it in a swamp. Why didn't AUDY go home that day and tell somebody? AUDY had nothing to gain from participating in this scheme with his friends. AUDY didn't even know Russ. Why did AUDY leave his house that morning knowing he was going to take part in a murder robbery? After shooting Russ in the abdomen with the intent to kill him, AUDY went to Russ's truck and took his wallet. If he felt threatened, as he stated, why didn't AUDY run to his house and call for help? In the 2016 resentencing hearing of AUDY, he lashed out and was disrespectful to Judge Emanuel. She repeatedly asked him to calm down. When he didn't, she had AUDY escorted from the courtroom by 2 deputies. At AUDY's parole hearing in June of 21, AUDY took no responsibility for his actions. He showed no remorse and offered no apology to our family when he spoke. We learned at that hearing that AUDY had received 60 disciplinary write-ups while in Angola, 13 of which were sex acts. I feel that with his limited social skills, AUDY will not thrive in society. I feel that his lack of coping and decision-making abilities will be strongly impaired. I know if AUDY is released, my family will live in fear, knowing he is in our community. I would request a no contact order and that he be ordered to live outside Caddo or Bossier Parish. In less time than I've been given to speak, my family's life was changed forever. The impact of AUDY's action is never ending. Mr. Freeman, you may remember that my family and friends were in Baton Rouge last October to plead with you to uphold the death penalty of AUDY's co-conspirator and the other participant in Russ's murder. You heard the grief that my family still lives with. Russ never got to experience the joy of his own children grow up. He was deprived of knowing his beautiful 6 grandchildren. I hope that you never have to feel the pain we've endured or experienced a tragedy such as this. I pray that you deny AUDY Keith the opportunity for parole. Please support AUDY's original sentence of life without benefit of parole that was promised to our family.
Ms. Rowan, thank you so much. And just like your nephew said, and his wife said, this is very, this does open old wounds all the time. So we understand your grief and your sorrow. Thank you very much for your statements. At this time, we're going to recognize Ms. Fitzgerald from the District Office at Caddo.
Hi.
Hey,
Good morning.
good morning.
Yes, I'm Leanne Fitzgerald. I'm the director of the Victim Assistance Program for the Caddo Parish DA's office. And I had just started working at the DA's office whenever this crime happened. I remember it very vividly because it was so shocking and horrendous to our entire community. It was in the Blanchard area, which is north of Shreveport, and it's a small community where a lot of people knew the Rowlands, had grown up with them, gone to school with them. It was just one of those things that you never forget, the community never forgets about. And the defendant, Mr. Keith, had been hanging with this crew all day. He knew what Danny Irish was up to, and he knew when Danny called Russ to come back over to the trailer so they could rob him. He knew that that was going down. He knew that Danny had guns, but he still hung around. He chose to stay there, knowing what was about to go down, knowing the plan. And it was only after Mr. Rowland was shot dead and had been dragged inside the house and blood was being cleaned up that he went into the woods and basically thought, I better get out of here. But not until he had even gone to Mr. Rowland's truck and fetched his wallet for Danny Irish. This was not a split-second decision, as Ms. Hutchison and others have referred to it as. He had plenty of opportunity to get away from this, plenty of opportunity to stop it from happening, to try to help Mr. Rowland. He could have called 911, but he didn't. And this doesn't seem like the behavior of someone who did not want to be involved in this or who did not want to participate, which is the first thing that Mr. Keith always says is that I didn't participate or I didn't want to participate. Well, that's not what your actions reflect. So he certainly didn't seem remorseful on December 30th of 1996 that Mr. Rowland was dead. Mr. Rowland was a businessman. As I mentioned, he was only 42 years old. He was raising his children. He was living an all-American life along with his family. He was a former Marine who, as Ms. Walker mentioned, at 17 years old, signed papers willingly to serve this country. As you've heard, he left 2 small children behind that Miss Kathy had to rear without a dad. That photo that Linda showed of Matt and his dad, I've seen that photo many times over the years, and it hurts my heart every time I see it. And I think, thank God they have that day together, even though it's bittersweet to see that photograph. I grew up myself deer hunting with my dad, and this is the South, so I can just imagine the excitement of that day, how proud Mr. Rowland was that Matt had killed a deer, and that it was just a good memory and a good day. And on that day, Matt had a father, the father that many kids wish for on December 30th of 1996. But on December 31st of 1996, just like that, he no longer had a dad, thanks to the really poor decisions of Mr. Keith and his cohorts. Matt and Emily became the kids who had to return to school shyly and traumatized because their father had gotten killed over the Christmas break while everybody else was celebrating the holidays with their family. They had a funeral for their father. I'm sure they had other kids looking at them awkwardly, not knowing what to say because their dad had been the victim of the murder that the entire community was talking about. And in regards to AUDY's record, we had the parole hearing in 2021. Frankly, I would describe it as disastrous, and I think that the panel of board members at that time would probably agree with me. AUDY showed no remorse for his part in the murder, even after almost 27 years. I commend him for not having any write-ups in the past 5 years. I hope he's on the right path now, but we still can't forget about the 58 write-ups in the 22 years before that, 5 or 6 of which were sex-related. These were not offenses because he wasn't making his bed or he was waking up late. He was caught with a cell phone, which is a huge security risk for a prison and everyone inside of it. And I don't know what all the sex offenses were about, but I just don't think that almost 5 years of good behavior cancel out 22 years of unacceptable behavior. If it took 22 years for Mr. Keith to adjust to prison in such a way that he can conform and follow the rules, then how long do we think it will take him in the outside world to do that with all of its challenges and temptations? And is it worth the risk to find that out? So yes, he was only 16 when this happened. Yes, there may have been coercion by the defendant. And yes, we have all these studies now, which I respect, about the development of the brain being later than once thought. But what was Mr. Keith's frontal lobe doing in 2016 when he cursed his attorney in open court in front of the judge and had to be shut down, which has been referred to today? Or when one of our prosecutors and investigators came to interview him in preparation for the Danny Irish trial, and he lied and accused them of attacking him. An investigation was conducted on all of that, and his allegations were unfounded. And so the studies that I've read show that by the mid-20s, a male brain should be fully developed in the ways that provide for self-control, impulse control, sound decision-making. But I submit to you that AUDY's was still deficient long after that. And clearly, he works on a long learning curve. So I think we need more than 5 years of good behavior to show us that he's ready for the outside world. You know, what it basically comes down to is this is a murder of a human being, a military veteran of our country who was shot first by Mr. Keith and finished off by Danny Irish as he laid on the ground begging for his life. All because they wanted to commit a robbery. This board has 34 letters that I'm sure you all have reviewed of loved ones, friends, family of Mr. Rowland, who took the time to sit down and express to strangers what the loss has meant to them. And I submit to you that this is just a drop in the bucket. I still encounter people to this day in the community. When they hear where I work, they say, "Oh, do you know the Rowland family?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do know the Rowlands." And I just hear, "Oh, Linda and I went to school together," or "I grew up on their street," or "I went to school with the kids." Good people. Russ and I used to work together. So this was a loss, and these stories are not platitudes. This is everyday life for these people. And 27 years is a long time, but Mr. Keith is only 43 years old. He is older than Russ Rowland made it to be. 5 years of good behavior does not warrant parole for a murderer. Please make AUDY prove that he can continue to earn the grace and mercy of this board. I am asking the board very respectfully on behalf of the Caddo District Attorney James Stewart and on behalf of the Rowland family and the community at large to please deny Mr. Keith's request for parole. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fitzgerald. Thank you for your comprehensive statement also. At this time, the panel will vote, and they'll start with me because it was my case. Mr. Keith, I heard everything you had to say, and you have lots of improvement in your life. Can y'all hear over there? Mr. Keith? Okay. You have made wonderful improvements in your life, and you know, taking the different classes and the HVAC, all of those things will help you. So I listened to everything you had to say, and I listened to your attorney, and I listened to your mother, and everything you said was important. But at the same time, everything the victim's family had to say was important. His name was Russ Rowland, and he was a veteran, and he did have a little boy and a little girl and a wife that loved him. And in that instant, their life changed forever. And it will never be the same because generations will pass by and he'll just be something that they will verbally make a memory in their life. They won't get to sit on his lap and hear stories. And like they said, he was a good storyteller. They loved him very much. And thank goodness for the last photo that his son has of them hunting together. Those are the kind of things that I think of too. I think of his daughter, Emily, who didn't have her father to walk her down the aisle. She got married. I think of Matt and Emily when they had their children, and Kathy when she had the grandchildren, and she wasn't able to ever look next to her and say, Russ, remember when Matt did that, or remember Emily did that. Those are the kind of future things that they've lost because of this murder. So I do think of that. And my vote today is to deny because of extreme law enforcement opposition. And Ms. Fitzgerald told the truth. I did read those 34 letters. And that's a lot. You might get 2 or 3 sometimes, but 34 speaks volumes. So extreme victim opposition on those 2 circumstances, I vote to deny. Mr. Freeman.
Okay, Mr. AUDY. First off, I want to thank everyone that showed up today, both from your family and especially from the victim's family. It's a shame that we have to reopen old wounds because of certain laws that were passed after y'all thought he was going to do life in prison. So, you know, Mr. AUDY, basically, you need to accept more responsibility. My vote is to deny extensive victim opposition and strong law enforcement and seriousness of the offense.
My vote is the same as my colleagues for the same reasons. Nothing more to add.
Okay. At this time, Mr. Keith, today your parole has been denied. And this concludes our business today, and we will adjourn at 10:41.
And they're going to have to reopen those wounds again because 2 years later, June of 2026, we are going to see his third bite at the apple. And that's just the way the legislation is written. Again, because he was under the age of 18, he can continue to apply for parole indefinitely every 2 years. I guess the legislators weren't thinking about the victims when they put that law right into print. I imagine, it's just whatever. Anyways, that was Miss Stapleton's when she was first early on, right? When the new board came in, because it was the old board, then they had the new board. And I remember seeing Miss Stapleton give that speech, and I was like, I like her. I'm gonna like her. You know, she replaced Mr. Noe Roche as the victim's advocate. By the way, anyone who doesn't want to hear what I have to say now, doesn't want me to I'm gonna read the comments. I'm gonna read some of the appeal. You can skip ahead. There's timestamps below. But still, no one replaces the Honorable Judge Bonnie Jackson and the Noe Roche. I think we all really miss them, and I love being able to take a flashback to the past, to their classic hearings. Now, I wonder if in the new hearing he's going to admit like his full-on guilt, or is he still going to stick with the story that he was pointing a gun at me and I had to shoot him? How many times have we heard that excuse? We just covered a parole hearing out of the state of Connecticut for a man who was given over 200 years in prison. But again, because he was under the age of 18, he also gets parole opportunity. And he killed 4 people in a home over like $200 also, by the way. 4 people in a house. And his story at that parole hearing was his co-defendant was pointing a gun at him and making him do it. And that's not what the jury found. It was like a 5-month jury process. His co-defendant actually got less time than he did. And but the parole board in Connecticut bought it hook, line, and sinker. They're like, oh, well, if you said you had a gun pointed at him, clearly he had a gun point, you know? And I couldn't believe it. It was like, what? Why are you overturning a jury verdict and the facts of the case because he says so? But you know, that's a crazy case. That's a crazy case. You go to my second channel if you want to see that one. Maybe I'll put a link in the description. But let me go over the appeal and then I'll read the comments. So this is only be like 5 minutes. It's really not a long. It's just if you want to see in writing what actually happened. So Irish, Klein, and Keith waited in Irish's trailer over the home of Russ Rowland to arrive. They didn't have to wait long. When Rowland arrived at 3 p.m., Audrey Keith was sitting in a chair in the living room, and Rowland stepped to open the door. Keith fired one blast from Irish's 12-gauge shotgun, hitting Rowland in the abdomen. Again, it doesn't say the guy's pointing a gun at him. No. That's not. He's making that up. Rowland collapsed on the wooden porch outside the front door. Irish took the shotgun and attempted to fire it, but it had misloaded and would not fire. So he picked up his 30-30 with Rowland when Rowland was begging for his life. And again, you don't even want to go there. But this proud entrepreneur, father, husband, Marine, to be after getting shot in the abdomen, one of the most painful places to be shot, and then he has to beg for his life from these cockroaches as they point to, and you just can't. Sorry, bro, you can't get free from this stuff. He stepped up to the door and fired the rifle down the right eye, blowing away a large portion of his head. Then it was again Keith who went to the truck to look for his wallet, which contained less than $200. He took the wallet and money from Keith and put it under the cushion and the love seat. And again, let's just remember how dumb this entire thing is. Like, what you couldn't pawn off your rifles to get your rent money. I mean, like, wait a minute, no, let's go kill that guy to get a couple $100. I mean, we have these perfectly good rifles here. It's just so stupid. And then they basically tried to clean up the mess. And then, I mean, there was a little bit of sign, if you're curious, where Keith did seem to have a little bit more humanity inside of him. So it's worth reading it. Keith, now sitting at the table with his head in his hands, refused to help Irish drag the body into the trailer. Now, what this does, it does 2 things. One, in my opinion, it shows someone who does have some humanity in him, right? He's not like a complete lizard humanoid if he's actually now dealing with the shock and drama of this. But what it also shows is that he was not being in fear for his life. He was not having a gun pointed at him, because had that been the case, he would have helped drag the body, because the guy would have said, "You're helping me. I'm not doing this alone. You're doing it." So you get it? If you had any doubt, I hope that this can override that doubt. Not that many of us watching this did, but just, think about it. Klein, who was hidden in the bedroom, emerged and began cleaning up the blood. This is a third person, and Klein was on parole, and then Klein actually called the police. Dragged Rowland's body down the hallway. Jason Gwynn had seen Roland's truck drive by, heard 2 shots, and came over to see what happened. Gwynn noticed that the front porch was now wet and that there was a big black mark like a trail going down the hall. He saw Klein on her knees, scrubbing the black mark. Gwynn asked where Irish and Keith and pointed to the back. Gwynn walked down the hall and saw Roland's body on the floor and Irish emerging from the bathroom. When Irish asked him to help him with the body, Gwynn couldn't speak. He saw Irish pick up the shotgun and began to load it. Then Gwynn saw a sheriff's car. Can you imagine this? A sheriff's car just entered the subdivision. When Irish turned towards Gwynn with a shotgun, Gwynn ran out the back door and into the wooded area behind the trailer, emerging at the neighbor's house and calling first his parole officer, then the sheriff investigator. So this entire plot fell apart in like, I don't know, 3 minutes. I'll read the comments, but it's just so insane. Now, his co-defendant, we actually covered his commutation hearing. I'm not going to play it now, but we covered his commutation hearing, and he was initially sentenced to death, but it was overturned because his IQ was too low. So his co-defendant wasn't very bright, as you can see. Now let's maybe I'll have to remember to put that link in the description too if you want to see that commutation hearing. I was also with the old classic board, so if you want to see that board. Now let me read your comments. Look at this. This is from Jacqueline, our Turtle member. I always love seeing my members' comments here. His eyes are very scary. They are black. When you look directly at his eyes, you can see anger. You know, I do think that's true. But I'm still not like, I have seen pictures of evil people who you look at their pictures or faces and they look like they have kindness. And so it is always scary. It's not guaranteed, but sometimes, yes, you can see black in people's eyes. Why is there always family members in poor health that the other family members need help with? It's true. That is 100% true. The indifference on his mother and fiance's face tells me the kind of people he comes and attracts for. Exactly. And thank you, Lam Cordila, also a longtime member. Mr. Roche is nobody's dummy. That's right. Honestly, don't think I hit full maturity until 34. I've been doing much calmer, and I think I passed that testosterone-laden impulsivity. Different strokes for different folks. This is saying Connecticut, by the way, is trying to pass legislation that under the age of 26, all life sentences will be overturned. They've already passed it not under the age of 18, but under 21. They're now doing 26, and I tell you, they will get what they want. Somewhere on another random Mandoo upload, I stupidly left a wisecrack about Mr. Noe Roche being an old dude who was overdue to retire, but now I want to apologize for that and say how completely wrong I was and how much I appreciate his strictness with who he paroles and how professional he is and is always evaluating these inmates. So sorry, Mr. Roche. And I don't think you need to say sorry, June. I think a lot of us feel this way. I mean, I appreciate the apology, but a lot of us, when we first see him, feel that way. I know I said some bad things about Mr. Noe Roche that I regret, but he grows on you. Once you get over his cadence and once you get to know him and you see that he's so smart. He's so smart. He understands every case. He understands the law and he sees through people. I love Mr. Noe Roche and we do miss him. I think so many of us miss him. Decency, sir. Most people don't expect recognition for that. He said he helped me in wheelchairs, his own free will. I never grabbed my phone. He's going to ditch his girlfriend as soon as he gets out. Well, probably for another man by his write-ups. This fully mature BS, again, 27, what the hell, lol, absurd. Humans had a lifespan, believe 30 for a majority of their existences. 11 21 C's exactly. 25 years of no execution is ridiculous. As always, I love Ms. Jackson. So do I. The Honorable Judge Bonnie Jackson. She's amazing. You know her history. She was a defense attorney and worked for the state, right? She was a judge. She could have gotten then any job working for some law firm in Louisiana, making good money, and she didn't. She instead, took the really difficult job of being a parole board member. You do not make much money doing that. You do it because you're passionate about it. Let's see if I could do top comments. and then we'll go on to the next hearing. Thank you, Sir Richard, for connecting the dots, by the way, and also for Annan for calling out the 2026 hearing. He wants parole with all those write-ups. They let him out. They might as well let everyone out. See, you see how it's in top comments? It doesn't even make sense. Why is this a top comment? Not saying it's a bad comment, but how are they judging top comments? And YouTube really sucks. I don't know who else is frustrated. Who else gets recommended over and over and over? Like, you're looking for something new to watch, and YouTube continues to recommend a video that was uploaded, I'm not joking, 3 years ago that you watched 3 years ago. And it shows the watch bar is full. So you know they have the data on that. Why are they continuously recommending me old videos that I've watched? Why? YouTube, this multi-billion-dollar organization, is so broken in every which way. I could go on complaining about them for hours. And here's just another example. And I don't get it. That 21C, you know what they say here. Okay, after his girlfriend gave the speech, this sits and hears about his sex offenses. That was true. That was good. I wonder if that's that has got to be the very first time that she came back, right? She came back the second time. I guess she understands you got to be gay for the same thing. I like you so much, Mr. Roshana. I wish you were my grandfather, a family member. You, sir, are so sweet and nice. I would have to have someone like you in my life. You are simply awesome, sir. You got me again when you said your community service is more special because it's the right thing to do. I really like your wisdom in life, bar none. I agree, Kathy. Well said. 25 years with no execution date is ridiculous. Did I read that one? Okay. Whoa, Roche totally put him on blast. The girlfriend and mom gave each other a look. Prunes? I don't know. I don't get it. But what's up? What's up, silly Bebo? How the old girl feels about the 21C. Jealous, most likely. Good one, Watermelon. Please tell me, why don't people turn off the ceiling fan when on Zoom? That's true. That's true. We have seen a lot of really funny things. Actually, Annan, who recommends the hearings, sent me a montage of the most awkward Louisiana moments. There are bad. There's one where someone actually sits on the toilet. It's still up there. I didn't show it because I just, for me, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to put, someone on blast. But she had no idea that she was being broadcasted to the world. It's still available. YouTube didn't take it down. And she goes and sits on the toilet and just is sitting there on the toilet and filming herself. And for whatever reason, the YouTube algorithm did not catch it. There's another one where there's someone who's in the audience and she's getting her wig glued on. So you get to see the whole process because for some reason the phone is right there. There's a lot of really weird ones. Sounds like there was a bunch of words fighting with his cellmates. You could see his fiance and mom looking at each other like, what? The woman's world around people. The exactly why this is why he is. The family isn't making him be a grown man. They coddle him. Exactly. See, that's a top comment. It has 46 likes, and that's by Nefertiti, who is a longtime Mandoo fan. Thank you so much for this support. I know I butchered your name, but I know who you are. Lam Cordela, also, the indifference of his mother and fiance's face tells me the kind of people comes. As always, I love you, Miss Jackson. Does his girlfriend know he's screwing her? Oh no, this was a horrible crime. Thanks, man. You're welcome. Maiko Sayako. I mean, also OG Mandalorian over here. All right, guys, we're gonna go into the next parole hearing. I think we're gonna have to say, and I always want to read more comments, but I get this feeling like, okay, we've been here long enough, 15 minutes. We've been here a long time. Let's go into the next hearing. Do you think they're gonna grant? Do you think he's going to change his approach? Do you think his girlfriend's gonna be back? Fiance, whatever. Let's find out.
So the first question, general question is, tell us what you did to cause yourself to get that life sentence, and why do you think you should be released now? What have you done since then?
Yes, sir. On this day in 1996, I set out to hang out with a group of friends, and where I typically went out to hang out to get away from the hostile environment that I was having inside of my household with the abuse, both verbal and physical. Hanging out with Daniel and Christy Klein and Jason Gwynn, and we watched movies. He came up with an idea from a movie he had that he wanted to rob his landlord and said he was wanted to kill him. I didn't want him to do it. I said, no, man, this is insane. So we just went along about our day like we normally do. We made a few errands, and upon coming back home to Danny's house and Christie's, Jason had departed us, and Mr. Rowland showed up a short time later, and Christie said he was here, and she went to the back of the house. Mr. Rowland had came up on the porch, Danny was coming down the hallway, and he pointed a gun at me, and he says, "Get the gun from behind the chair and shoot him." I was in shock. 16 years old, I didn't know what to do. I'd never been in a situation like this before. I just froze up. And I didn't know. He said, "Get the gun and shoot him." I got the gun. I shot Mr. Rowland. Danny comes to take the gun from me and went outside and stood over Mr. Rowland and shot him again. Then, short time after that, he told me to go to the truck and get the wallet out of Mr. Rowland's truck. I went and retrieved the wallet, brought the wallet back to him, gave it to Danny. He counted the money, and I had nothing else to do with the wallet. A short time later after that, Mr. Gwen came over, and he said, "Did he really do it?" I said, "Yeah, he really did do it." And he took off running. And when he left, I left. So coming into the prison system at such a young age, I was a young skinny kid, and I'm not asking for no pity or nothing on this. But when I came into the prison system, I felt that I had to adapt to this environment that I was coming into to survive. It was very, very hostile. There was a lot of violence going on at the time when I came in 30 years ago. And I got in a lot of trouble. I made a lot of bad decisions. And I felt that I couldn't be around the other people because of social orientation problems. I didn't know how to adapt with it. So I got in a lot of trouble, and I put myself in the cell blocks because I felt that I could more, adapt to my environment inside of there. I didn't have to worry about dealing with people. Through the course of the years, I've made a few more mistakes along the way, but a lot of my disciplinary reports actually came from when I first come to the prison system. And I've taken self-help classes since then. I've taken victim impact, thinking for a change, pre-release, living in balance, phase 1 and 2. And I'm at the pinnacle of my life now where I've taken all the classes and I've become passionate, and I'm sorry for what I did. And I realized the mistakes that I made in my life. And what I'm able to do now is I facilitate the classes. I'm giving back for the young generation that is coming in, where through the victim impact, I can identify, looking back in hindsight, I've heard previous hearings that, I should have left. I should have turned the gun on Danny. Looking back in hindsight, maybe I should have. I wholeheartedly agree. Maybe I should have. But at 16 years old, in that moment, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have that thought process. It was just a reaction. I didn't have the ability to process what was happening. So yeah, I should have left. But thinking back about it, nobody thought that this was going to happen because he always made statements, about doing various crimes, and nothing ever happened. And even his own girlfriend said, "AUDY, don't listen to nothing he's saying. He's just talking." I was new in the neighborhood. I've only been there a couple of months, so I really didn't know him. So I had to, I took what she told me, and the rest of the people, don't listen to him, he's just talking. I took it at face value. But now, looking back at it, yeah, I could have left, and I should have left, but I chose not to because I took the advice of what she told me. And the pre-release statement, I use that to give the people the tools where they can be successful upon their reentry into society. And the victim impact, I don't look at that as teaching. I look at that as an opportunity to share everything that I've heard the victim say, and it gives me an insight to teach for my class, you know, the impact that I had on these, the father that was lost, the husband, the Marine veteran. You know, he'll never be able to see his grand. Yeah, man, it hurts me to talk about this. You know, I'm nervous then, I'm nervous now, and I'm just sorry.
Mr. Keith,
Yes, sir.
I read your file several times and I read a little different. And what I'd like you to do is tell me the truth. Please tell me the truth. Whose idea was it to do this?
Danny?
It was Danny's idea.
Yes, sir.
But you shot him.
Yes, sir, I shot him.
Okay. And I realize you being a young guy, you know, can be influenced, but and what happened after you shot him?
After I shot him, Danny took the gun from him.
Did someone else shoot him?
Yes, sir.
Who was that?
Daniel Irish.
You shot him in the head, so he wasn't dead when you shot him?
Oh, sorry, he was not.
Okay. Warden, could you tell us what kind of guy Mr. Keith had been, please?
Yes, so he's been at Hunt since August of 2022. His disciplinary record has been, he doesn't have one here. He's been a pretty good model inmate while being at Hunt. He works in the food cafeteria here, and he does facilitate here. You know, looking back, he and I discussed his disciplinary history, and looking back through the years, you can see that a lot of his disciplinary stuff was done in his earlier years of being incarcerated, and it looks as though he has matured. Other than that, that's all I really have to say.
Do you think maybe he's turned the corner?
From looking at it and seeing the way that he is around here, the way that he interacts with individuals, I would say he's headed in the right direction.
Thank you, Warden. We appreciate your work. Okay. I got a question. I'm pretty sure when I read that police report, it says there was 2 guns involved, a shotgun and a 30-30. You telling me now that there was only one?
No, sir, I'm not.
Can you straighten out where it doesn't match with the police report?
There was 2 guns involved, sir. Yes, sir. So Daniel Irish did have a 30-30. He was pointing a gun at me. He told me to get the 12-gauge shotgun from behind the chair and to shoot Mr. Rowland.
And then you shot him, and then you said he took the gun from you and went shoot him. He took your gun and went shoot him with a different gun?
He took the gun from me. He was trying to shoot him with that gun, sir, after I had shot him. And it would not work. And he put that down and retrieved the 30-30 and went out and stood over Mr. Rowland and shot him in the face.
And is that the story you told the police immediately?
Yes, sir.
I don't think so. Yeah. Okay. That's all the questions I had. We have in support Miss Adrienne Hutchinson with the Louisiana Parole Project. Would you go ahead and tell us what you got to say?
Absolutely. You didn't want to take the family supporters first? We do have one family member speaking in support, and then Andrew is, Mr. Huntley is also as well.
That family members on the list, but tell me who the family member is.
Miss Connie Nolan, Mr. Keith's mother is gonna make a statement in support, as well as,
No. Say the name again, Tiny?
Only no, now.
Connie Nolan.
Go ahead and speak.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Connie Allen. I'm the mother of all the kids. I'm a 4 kid.
over the past 29 plus years, I, along with my family, have continually supported him financially and emotionally. We have driven countless miles to visit him. We miss him being at home, just like the members of his family have been their loved one as well. Him being 16 when all this happened, it was hard on me. Harder on him, but it was hard on me. Because he was in high school, had a possible career in NFL football player because he was good in sport. He was well loved by everyone he met. He always had a giving heart. If someone needed something, he was the person who would get it. And he just wanted to help. His dedication to his personal growth and rehabilitation while he has served over half his life here incarcerated. He has attained his GED. He completed carpentry school. He's taken several classes, which y'all already know that. But I just want to say in closing, because I really think I just hope something would help with this decision. But my family and I are very sincere in our prayers and condolences for the Rowland family, for all the children, your friends and family, and the Blanchard community. I've cried many nights, cried many tears for the loss of Russ Rowland, for the children, for all they've endured, and them knowing that their children didn't get to meet their dad. That's hard on my heart as a mother, or even as a person. But I pray each of you can find in your hearts to see that AUDY has done all that I think he possibly can to show his improvement and his dedication and how he could be a citizen in society. If that is the decision that is made, to enter back into society, I believe that would be a good thing, and I pray that it would be a good thing.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Hunley, you go ahead.
Andrew Hunley with Louisiana Parole Project here today to make the board aware that our organization continues to stand by what we have stated at AUDY's previous two parole hearings, that if he were to be released, he is a client of our program. If he were to be released, he would have housing with us in Baton Rouge, in one of our properties. In fact, the AUDY understands that part of the agreement would be he would never be allowed to reside in Caddo or Bossier parishes. He wants the opportunity to start over in a place where he would not go back and potentially be seen or revisit individuals who've been harmed by his actions in the past. Part of the reentry plan would be, as you may have in your record, our employment and social work teams have done assessments. First and foremost, we have a plan with our social workers to ensure that all of those needs are met if he's comes home, and additionally, that our employment team is ready based on marketable skills he has to ensure that he has long-term employment and the ability to support himself and become self-sufficient. But most of all, we're proposing a long-term plan that AUDY would be with us. When I say long-term through transitional housing and post-transitional housing. And we would suggest that if at any point AUDY sought to move into his own place, he would have to receive a explicit approval by the parole board, but that would be nowhere in the Caddo or Bossier area. But long story short, we expect him to be with us long term. And I think the board understands what I mean when I say that, and that's with agreement from AUDY. We're here today because of the Miller and Montgomery U.S. Supreme Court decisions, and then Act 277 of the 2017 legislature that gave parole eligibility to individuals like AUDY who committed these sorts of crimes when they were under the age of 18. Parole Project has provided reentry support to over 100 of men and women who were in AUDY's situations. Our organization has quite a bit of experience in the reentry of those individuals, and we take it very serious. We are confident, based on AUDY's record of rehabilitation, that he would be able to successfully reenter, as many individuals have before him, and our organization can handle that reentry support and has the resources and the capacity to do so. I would say that our organization has been impressed that, as the board's aware, oftentimes individuals face adversity when being denied parole hearings. After AUDY's two last parole hearings, he has not regressed, but in fact has moved forward, became a trustee. Now he's teaching the classes that he took before previous hearings. We would submit that we believe there's a sweet spot there for AUDY because of his age and his ability to get employment now to support himself. We believe that he is well positioned to be successful if this board should decide to grant him parole. And we would stand by to answer any questions you may have about his reentry plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Humphrey. All right, Ms. Adrian, I'm gonna hold you for a little bit later. I got some other people. Ms. Kathy Miller, asked for executive session.
I'll second.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right. All right, board has concluded this executive session. Without any further delay, we'll hear from Adrian Hutchinson.
Good morning, committee. As we've heard and will hear, AUDY's crime remains difficult for all participants in this hearing and anyone affected by his crime. So I did want to take time out to acknowledge that we do understand that revisiting this is painful. Before I go any further on an aside, I did want to direct the committee if they'd like to Exhibit 7 in my brief, which gives you AUDY's guilty plea transcript. And about page 4 or 7 of that transcript, you will see the DA's statement of the facts, which does track with what AUDY has described with Mr. Irish telling him to grab the gun, AUDY refusing to participate a couple of times within the exchange, and then Mr. Irish pointing the gun at him and requiring and telling him to shoot Mr. Robin. And so that is in your Exhibit 7 of the brief that I provided for clarity. AUDY is before this committee today seeking parole for the third time, having listened each time to the comments by Mr. Rawlins' family and friends, having listened to the concerns of the DA's office, and having listened to what the committee would like to see in him moving forward. And after each hearing, kind of like Mr. Hundley said, AUDY has incorporated what he heard into his life and moved forward with purpose. His first hearing was in 2021, in which the board asked to see a longer sustained record of growth and maturity by acquiring additional programming and remaining disciplinary infraction free. At the time, his last one was in 2019, so 2021 was a bit close. Since then, he's taken Thinking for a Change, the 24-week program, Victim Impact, several NCC ER classes in crew safety, construction management. He's done an Alcoholics Anonymous, sober living. He's done HVAC. So he's continued to do classes. He returned back in front of the board in 2024 and was denied due to victim impact. AUDY understands that he can't do anything to alleviate the pain that he's caused to the victim's family. So in turn, he poured into others, hoping to catch them before they cause such pain. So what you'll see in his record now is he's a facilitator in programs like Better Men, where it's a faith-based program that teaches them how to be a better man for their community and their family. He teaches pre-release, which incorporates things like anger management, problem solving, and goal setting into how to incorporate that into release into society. He teaches thinking for a change, which we know helps others work through harmful thought processes and working on social skills. And most importantly, he teaches victim impact, right? It's a part of his ongoing commitment to personal responsibility for the crime he caused. And in each class, he has to revisit that crime and that pain that he's caused that family to hopefully deter others from going down that path. As Ms. Fitzgerald had stated in AUDY's last hearing, he had struggled in prison, which he acknowledged his record wasn't great. He waited too long to seek out a positive and uplifting community intake program. That's why he pours into the inmates he meets now, whether it's in classes he facilitates, down the walk, or in the dorm, hoping to lessen their learning curve in a way that his was. And in regarding her previous concerns with his learning curve if released, and whether that would look like prison, that's what LPP is here for, to long-term, to lessen that curve. As Andrew said, we've had about over 100 in his similar age bracket, but we're almost at 700 individual, formerly incarcerated individuals total. We provide a safe community for these individuals, for them to reintegrate back into society after decades of incarceration, teaching, leading, helping, and mentoring. This will be in the Baton Rouge area long-term, away from the Cattle Boulder area if he were to be granted parole. So today we hope, as stated by the District Attorney's Office in the last hearing, that AUDY has earned the committee's grace and mercy. And you will provide him with a second chance, away from those he hurt the most and with any conditions this committee deems necessary. He'll be supported by his family, supported by LPP long-term to lessen that curve. And after having demonstrated time and time again, his remorse, his growth, his maturity, and his rehabilitation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna now hear from opposition. We have Ms. Kathy Walker, the victim's mother, who would like to speak. Good morning, Ms. Walker. Go ahead and tell us what you have to say. You're on mute.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I had trouble getting it off. Good morning, or almost good afternoon now. First of all, I'd like to thank the board. I know this is a difficult responsibility you have, and I appreciate it. And secondly, I want to ask for your patience as I get emotional and we rip open this wound again. But I just have something I'll do better reading. So a few weeks ago, I had a dream about Russ. I very vividly could see him in his overalls and his t-shirt, which he frequently wore while working in his shop. It was in a big metal building, just like the one we had behind our house. Russ was very creative and loved woodworking, as was demonstrated by the numerous rocking horses that he had built for so many friends. Matt was a young boy of 11 years old when his dad was killed. Because of his age, memories of his dad were limited. But he often observed his dad working in the shop. I recalled a few years later, Matt saying, "I sure miss the smell of sawdust." Later in the dream, I saw him pushing his daughter in her swing. He's sitting in the backyard. I can see it just like it was yesterday. Actually, I think I have a still shot of that. Again, in his overalls. I saw him sitting on the bucket beside her, talking to her and spending precious time with her. We did not know how precious that time would be. Our children's memories of their dad has happened in various ways. I tell them a story. I show them a photo, share one of his jokes, talk about his dog, and odd as though it may seem, even through maybe a smell of sawdust. Coincidentally, this weekend that I had the dream was by chance Memorial Day weekend. I believe that was not just a coincidence, but God's gentle reminder for me to honor him as not only a former Marine, but a brother, son, husband, dad, friend, and one of God's chosen people. This is a photo of him demonstrating what he was doing at the age of 17. Here I have the flag that was draped over his casket. the weekend that I had the dream, I told you was that, let's see, Russ's life was taken too early in a brutal way by AUDY Keith. The coroner said in the case that shot would have killed him. AUDY shot him in the abdomen, watched him screaming in pain and pleading for his life. I can never get over that image. AUDY participated in the planning to lure Russ to the trailer where his life was taken. This was not a spur of the moment decision. AUDY had planned it. You heard him say, he and Daniel and AUDY and everybody had planned it. He heard they had plenty of opportunity to change his mind and stop this event from happening, but he chose to kill him. Russ did nothing wrong and did not deserve to have his life taken. He has 6 grandchildren that will never know him. His beautiful family. I'm sorry, this is kind of foggy, but beautiful kids. Can't see them. They'll never know him. I will continue to try to tell them the stories. I believe AUDY's original sentence was lenient, life in prison as opposed to the death penalty. He has shown what he's capable of, and I'm fearful of the safety of others if he is released and even on parole. I prayerfully hope that you will consider your decision.
Thank you for your input. We appreciate you coming. All right, the second person we have is Matthew Rowland, victim's son.
Good morning, board. And as my mother said, I appreciate you doing this once again. Unfortunately, here we are again, just a couple of years after our last time having to do this. Once again, it comes back around to haunt us and consume our days. I'll keep this short. I didn't write anything, but I'll say that the responses that I've heard up to this point, and the laying out of the events that he says happened that day, still don't show any accountability. It can be said that, it was always somebody else's fault. Just like when he had his write-ups in jail, it's always somebody else's fault. It's adapt. He's running in the wrong circles. I can tell you it doesn't get any easier out here in the real world. There are a lot of different circles, and you're going to continue to surround yourself by those people and always pass the blame, never take accountability for your actions. Yet here we are as our family, we're having to deal with the actions every day, whether it's, missing out on memories, experiences, conversations. It doesn't get easier. And it hurts me every time we have to do this to hear the lack of accountability. You took a deal to save your life, and I believe that you are saving your life in jail. I believe that you are not remorseful. You're sorry, or he is sorry for his actions because where he is today, but not sorry for the family. I hear more remorse and sorrow from the attorney, from the parole program or whatever thing that is that's going to bat for this guy, and from his mother. I don't get it from him. The responses he gave today were pretty much canned responses, replying to our last conversations we had here. Good. You're teaching classes in jail. Keep teaching them. Keep teaching them. Show people what happens when you do this. I still think there's a lot more growing to be done. I'm in opposition, and I'll leave it at that. I hope you find God, and I hope you find remorse, and truly look inside and understand what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have in opposition Miss Emily Cope, the victim's daughter, who would like to speak.
Yes, sir. Hey, thank you all for your time today. I, like my mother, am emotional, so I'll try to power through this. And I wrote something, I edited it, as I was listening to everyone's, to AUDY's hearing or testimony this morning, edited a little bit. And I want to say that my thoughts, I've recently listened to a book called The Change Agent, and it has kind of warped my thoughts a little bit on the prison system. I strongly believe in redemption. So with that, I'm going to start what I wrote. Over the years, I've struggled with the idea of forgiving AUDY Keith for his role in my dad's murder. I've tried to put I've tried to put thoughts of AUDY out of my mind because I do not believe he deserves my time, attention, or emotional energy. Holding on to the past acts like chains preventing us from moving forward with our lives. Unfortunately, each parole hearing brings these events back to focus and reopens wounds that will never fully heal. Once again, I am forced to devote time and thought to a man who has already taken too much from me. Yet here I am again, and here's my current perspective. God teaches us to forgive. Matthew 6:14-15 reads, "For if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses." I forgive you, AUDY, for taking the life of my dad. Sorry. I forgive you because I do not want to be bound by the chains of the past, and because I want God to forgive me of my sins in life. However, my forgiveness should not hold value to you. I have been praying for AUDY and praying that he finds God. I pray that AUDY accepts responsibility for his actions he took and the role he played in the murder of my dad. It is God's forgiveness that AUDY should seek. This is the second time I've attended this hearing for AUDY, and unfortunately, I feel that I'm hearing the same red flags that I heard last time, a lack of personal accountability. I understand that AUDY was a young, impressionable 16-year-old. I too now have a 16-year-old that I can understand the maturity level, so I can understand the maturity level. But I know that I'm raising my son to understand that we are accountable for our own actions, whether they be positive or negative, no matter the friends we pick. And you pick your friends. So you hang with friends that teach you and treat you that way, you're going to follow in their actions. And I'm raising my son to know better than that. And I hope it, hindsight, I guess what I heard a lot was hindsight, clarity. Well, we all have hindsight and clarity. But unless you take that, learn from it, and develop, you'll continue to repeat those same actions. While I appreciate that AUDY seems to be taking the right steps forward, I am not confident that he has reached the finish line. From my perspective, true transformation requires both personal accountability and a profound moral and spiritual change. Until and unless AUDY finds God and embraces those values, I do not believe he can become a respectable member of society. I am not confident that he has reached that point yet. That's all I have. Thank y'all for your time today.
Thank you. We also have Linda Rowland, the victim's sister, who's in opposition on Zoom but not speaking. And we have Leon Fitzgerald from the Caddo Parish District Attorney's Victim Assistance Coordinator, who will speak and is in opposition. Morning, Ms. McClafton.
Good morning to the board. Yes, I'm Leon Fitzgerald. I'm the director of the Victim Assistance Program for the Caddo Parish DA's office. And I'm today to strongly oppose parole for Mr. Keith on behalf of District Attorney James Stewart and my office. I was already planning to refer to Ms. Hutchison's exhibit number 7, which is the transcript of Mr. Keith's guilty plea. And she pointed out a few things, but I would like to point out that the assistant DA stated, and Mr. Keith admitted that it is true, that prior to the date of the murder, however, he had heard Danny Irish talking of killing Russ Rowland and taking his money and his truck. This was not a split-second decision, as the attorney refers to in her report. I don't buy that. I didn't think he would really do it. Even at 16 years of age, if you're
consistently in the company of someone who is threatening to lure an innocent person over, rob them, shoot and kill them, and take their wallet and their truck, which is what he had said repeatedly, why in the world would you continue to put yourself in that situation? The day that the crime happened, when they all went to Walmart, Mr. Keith came back to that trailer home knowing that Mr. Rowland had been called and invited to come over. What did he think that Danny Irish had in mind? I don't buy that he did not know what was going to happen when Russ Rowland came over there. I would not treat an animal the way that these people treated Russ Rowland on the day that they murdered him. I'm going to be somewhat graphic, and I apologize to the family, but I just want to stress that the reports say that when the officers arrived on scene, there was a water hose running on the front porch, and they observed human body tissue and skull fragments scattered on the porch and on the ground nearby. Mr. Rowland had been dragged into the house at that point. Mr. Keith admits that after this murder, after shooting Russ Rowland in the abdomen and doing nothing to help him, he went to the vehicle and he took Mr. Rowland's wallet. Well, the keys were in the ignition of Mr. Rowland's vehicle. Wasn't that a gift that Mr. Keith could have jumped into the truck, started it, and left and gotten himself out of the situation? He could have even gone so far as to call for help for Russ Rowland, but he didn't. He is not an innocent. He did not call 911 when he left the trailer and say, oh my God, get over here. I was just forced at gunpoint to shoot a man. There's a dead man on Tammy Lane and y'all need to get somebody out here to help him. He didn't do that. So not only did he participate in this horrendous, senseless murder of a human being, but he probably most likely could have prevented it from happening in the first place. But that's not what he did. So I agree with what the family said, that we are still not hearing total accountability on the part of AUDY Keith. About the disciplinary record, I'm not going to beat the dead horse, okay? We know it was terrible in the beginning. And I will grant that, you know, adapting to prison life when you're a teenager, it probably is difficult early on. But I looked at the graph that was provided by Ms. Hutchison, and I've looked at the disciplinary records, and I wanted to just point out that in 2015, he received 4 that year, which was pretty normal for him. And in 2016 was when he was resentenced to life with the possibility of parole. And so at that point, he knew that there was a chance. That's when he started making an effort to clean up his disciplinary record. He still racked up 7 more infractions between 2016 and 2019, but he does seem to be on a better path now. So when he was told that he needed to clean up his record by this board in previous hearings, he finally got serious about following the rules and being compliant. He couldn't follow the rules for 23 years just for the sake of following the rules. It was only when he thought that he might gain his freedom in return that he made it a priority to become a compliant inmate. That is not long enough to prove that he is serious about being on the right path. And by the way, some of his disciplinary write-ups were not, he didn't make his bed. They were contraband, like a cell phone and cigarettes, fighting, and sexual activity. I think he had 5 disciplinary infractions for sexual activity. So that doesn't just go away. So I'm not harping on the past. I'm harping on the man that Mr. Keith has been just within the past 10 years. 10 years ago, when he had the outburst with the judge at his resentencing hearing, because he thought he was going to get released that day. And then when he found out he was only getting resentenced, he cursed and outburst and had to be removed from the courtroom by 2 bailiffs. That was when he was in his mid-30s. You can't blame that on youth and that his brain wasn't fully developed. I'm sure that the board has read many of the letters that have been received. This family has been prolific. Every time one of these offenders comes up for any consideration, the board, myself, we're inundated with letters from loved ones, family, friends, the community at large. You can't go to the North Caddo area of Caddo Parish without running into somebody that knew Russ Rowland or went to school with him. And all I've ever heard are good things about him. These letters refer to him as a mentor, a Sunday school teacher, a Bible school teacher, a lifelong friend. That's who Russ Rowland was. And just like Kathy told the board, at 17, he was very young and he was going into the military. He and his buddy signed up and they left 6 days after they graduated from high school to go to California to serve in the Marines. And I think that says a lot about his character. And I think that we should respect our veterans, and for someone to serve their country in the military to end up leaving this world at the hands of 2 teenagers with a shotgun and a rifle is disgraceful. So I'm not going to go on. I'm just, as the family has already pointed out, how long it has taken to even hear an apology to them from Mr. Keith. It was in the last hearing in 2024 was the first time that he had said to the family, I'm sorry for what happened.
I'd like to take the time now to say how sorry I am to the son and the daughter, because I realized the mistake that I made, that what they're missing with Mr. Rowland as their best friend, their life coach, their hero, their father. I'd like to take the time to apologize to the wife. I realize now through my training what she has missed with her husband, her support system, the glue that holds the family together, her happiness, her soulmate. I'd like to apologize to the sister. I realize what you miss in your best friend as well. And I'd like to apologize to his friends, the people he served with in the military, and the rest of the community and society.
In 2021, he said, I'm sorry for what happened, even though I was forced at gunpoint.
I'd like to take this time and say that I'm sorry again for what happened all those years ago when I did do it. Yes, no, I wasn't an active participant in it, and I was forced into doing it. That's why that I realized that what happened during that time, that it was wrong that happened, and I took responsibility for what happened during that time. That's why I pled guilty to the crime in 1998, and I was the star witness for the state to help convict my co-defendant for him to be placed on death row.
So Mr. Keith has a long way to go. I'm not saying never, but just because he's had his aha moment within the past 10 years, that does not mean that he can sustain clarity, a clean record, accountability, and that he is ready to leave the confines of prison and be in the real world. We are not convinced of that at all. This has been a contested issue by previous administrations and by current administrations. There's a lot of law enforcement opposition to this from the sheriff, the police chief, the district attorneys. So when AUDY Keith pled to second-degree murder and a life sentence protecting him from the death penalty, that is the sentence that this office intended for him to receive, and that we maintain is still appropriate and well-deserved by AUDY Keith. That is what he pled guilty to. That is what he knew that he was going to receive. So to say that releasing AUDY Keith would deprecate the seriousness of Russ Rowland's murder would be an understatement. The hard truth is that Russ Rowland doesn't get a second chance at life. And his children and his sister and his loved ones don't get a second chance at having a father and a brother and all the blessings that that includes. The loss to Russ Rowland's family and friends is permanent, and we ask that AUDY Keith's life sentence that he agreed to be permanent as well. And I thank the board very much for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, as she said, we do have strong opposition from the district attorney's office, the sheriff's office, the chiefs of police, and the attorney general. Mr. Tillis, it's your turn to vote unless you have any more questions.
Mr. Keith, do you have anything else you want to say to us?
Apologize. I apologize again. I'm gonna continue on my path to what I'm doing, my great things that I'm doing to better myself. I'm never going backwards. I'm always going forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm ready to vote. My heart goes out to the victims. It's proven that when 16-year-olds can do some foolish things, I think 30 years, you've been incarcerated 30 years. I believe you've changed. I take a lot of weight from the warden and the facility there that says that you've changed. And so my vote today is going to be to grant.
You know that I was on your panel in 2024, and I was opposed to your release then, and I continue to be opposed to your release. However, Ms. Fitzgerald said something that I'm not going to say never. I'm not saying never, but it's not today. I like that you're facilitating courses, and I think that you need to continue on that path. But today, my vote is to deny.
And I'm going to concur with Mr. Duke for the same reasons. So, Mr. Keith, this means today your parole request has been denied. And this would conclude our business at Elaine Hunt Correctional Center at 11:55 a.m.
Who else is not surprised that Tillis granted said, I think you change? It's kind of what we expect. It's more like a surprise when Tillis comes in and agrees with the norm. I don't know where you saw the remorse or why you think that 30 years is enough for this crime. Again, it's like I think what makes the case so like aggravating, right? And like how I think it touches a lot of us, and how I think that a lot of us don't have a lot of room for like empathy for him, is that he's just not an empathetic character. You don't feel authenticity from him. When he speaks, it's like a lizard humanoid is speaking. It doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel real. I don't think he can feel remorse. We haven't seen tears. We haven't seen cry. We haven't seen even like it. It's more like this robot is speaking. And also, I just get this feel again that it's like this robot that feels that he is the victim. And man, I mean, life, of course, was tough for him going into Angola at 16 years old and dealing with all the stuff that he's had to deal with. I'm sure he has been living through hell. But we have seen those who go through the prison system, and you just get a different energy and vibe. You feel like they do, like, when they go back to the scene of their crime, they can smell the gunpowder. They can see the crime scene and feel pain from it. They have PTSD from it, where they can genuinely shed a tear. And you just don't get any of that in this case. And I think that's part of what it is. It's like even like the family members that want to, and I could never, I get that forgiving is for yourself. It's not something, something you do for yourself, that be able to forgive and to breathe and still make. I mean, it was the family made just amazing statements, all of them. And the DA, she's amazing. Her and Tracy Barbera are really something else. And you can tell they actually care about their job. They care about doing the right thing. They care about sending the right message. And I agree with everything they say. Now, here's the one thing. Where was his fiance? And I missed it. Guys, tell me if did his fiance not show up at the last hearing? Did she hear about all the 21C write-ups and she's like, wait a minute, he's playing for the other team? I don't know. I can't recall. I went back to check, but I didn't see her talking in support. But was she there? I'm not even sure. Guys, sometimes when it's so long, I sit here so long, my brain starts to melt, but I didn't call it out if she wasn't there. But she definitely wasn't here now, right? So good for her. There's something I cannot understand, and that's those who marry those in prison. And someone wrote me an email, said, Mandoo, I'm married to someone in prison, and I'll tell you it's great. I don't have to see them. I know where they are, and they're really good at writing letters. And I said, okay, all right, like I understand that side of it. But but do you really want them to get out of prison? Would you talk on their behalf? Because it sounds like you have a good relationship when they're safe inside their little celly over there. Anyways, I mean the tragedy of this case, guys, in Connecticut, they would have paroled him just because it's been 30 years. They wouldn't care. They would have, like I said in the last hearing, the guy killed 4 people in one house and was found guilty of it in a trial. This wasn't like a confession. No, it was a trial, and it was his gun, right? And he killed 4 people with his gun. He ran away from the state, and he did all the things that added up to why he actually did it. And the parole board just said, yeah, I believe you that it was your co-defendant that pointed a gun at you, and that's why you did it. Yeah, I believe that story, and which is totally insane and unhinged. And here they just don't believe it. We hear that excuse a lot. We've heard it so many times. How many times I should make a compilation if I can, Ann, and if you're listening, if you have he has all these compilations, if you can think of it, you could get that from your, like people said they were someone pointing the gun at me. But to his credit, he sticks with the story, but maybe he feels like he can't. I just don't buy it. I don't believe that the guy sat there and said, now you're gonna shoot him or I'll shoot you. And I guess what they're saying is even if potentially that did happen, they were saying that, look, this was premeditated. They were talking about it for a week. They had planned it out. And he's still sticking with the story that it was like, nope, they were sitting on the couch and he said, I'm going to do it. And then he pointed it and I had to do it. But then again, I go back to the point where, he didn't help him drag the body away. He didn't help him clean. He went into the truck to get the wallet. He could have driven away. The keys were in the truck. And then he just seems to have no ability to show like empathy or remorse. And it's not just him, it's the family. The family wasn't the mom that was like comparing her son going to prison to what their family went through. It's just so like broke. Like it's not. They're 2 different things. And I think there's still everything you need to know. He doesn't have a relationship with his son. He doesn't have any relationships he has had, like his fiance, that's gone. He's if you paroled him, if you're even one of those that just say, oh, he served enough time, parole him like Chucky, I'd be willing to bet anything that we would see him back in a revocation so fast. He just doesn't have it in him. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Sir Richard, for connecting the dots as always. And with that, I'll let you go.
As I read the victim opposition letters, even though they were opposed, I saw that there was an opportunity for grace. If you had just changed, if you had just become a better person, there's something in me that says hearts could have been softened if they had seen anything in you that indicated that you had truly been remorseful for your actions. If you had spent all this time working to better yourself and to help others, there might have been a softening in their attitudes towards you. But I think what's really gotten to them, in addition to the crime itself, is the fact that you don't seem to have learned very much. You don't seem to have grown up or matured, as evidenced by that outburst in court in 2016. No contrition, no humility, no true empathy for what you did in this case. And so my, request of you is to look inward at yourself. Don't blame anybody on the screen for the decision today. Look inward at yourself.
God teaches us to forgive. Matthew 6:14-15 reads, "For if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses." I forgive you, AUDY, for taking the life of my dad. Sorry. I forgive you because I do not want to be bound by the chains of the past, and because I want God to forgive me of my sins in life. However, my forgiveness should not hold value to you. I have been praying for AUDY and praying that he finds God. I pray that AUDY accepts responsibility for his actions he took and the role he played in the murder of my dad.